Welcome, anatomy students. This is lab 8 about the sheep brain dissection. And I will go through the parts, what you have to know and identify on the sheep brain. I turn the camera down a bit that you will see the brain. I have a couple of them. So the sheep brain, it looks like this. You can identify the left and the right hemisphere. You can identify the cerebellum. The left and the right hemisphere is separated by the longitudinal fissure in here. On the side, we see the transverse cerebral fissure that separates the temporal lobe from the rest. The brain has membranes around them. The dura mater is missing from here, as well as the arachnoid membrane, the arachnoid mater. We see the pia mater on here, and the pia mater is, if I will go with a pin under it, I try to lift this up for you guys. So for example, I don't know whether you see it. This is the pia mater. It's super super thin, and it's attached to the surface of the brain. Here I can, oh, here is a good example in here in the saw. Oops. Okay, you see that. So it's pretty thin. And the inferior part of the brain, we see the temporal lobe on the left and on the right side. Here is the olfactory bulb. I have a better one in here to show you guys. This is the olfactory bulb. Here one and the other one. Okay, the two of them. We have the optic nerve. Here is one end. The other one is they are cut off. And in the middle, we have a crossing, and this is called the optic chiasma. We have the pituitary gland, this tiny bit, pituitary gland or hypophyseal gland. On the sheep brain, this is the pond, and that area is the medulla oblongata that moves through the foramen magnum, and this part is now the spinal cord. Where the medulla oblongata starts and the intersection of medulla oblongata and the pons is the trigeminal nerve. I try to find, this is the trigeminal nerve. Here is a small chunk. In here, I don't see it on the other. Oh, this is on the other side. That is the trigeminal nerve. Okay. So, checking the lab manual, what you have to identify, you have to make a mid-sagittal cut through the brain to reveal the internal anatomy. And we have to identify the different parts. The cerebrum is, again, this part and that part. We distinguish, we see the cerebellum. The cerebellum is here, cerebellum, and this one. You can see the arbor vitae, the white drawing out inside in the mid-sagittal cross in the cerebellum. Arbor vitae, the tree of life, it looks like arbor life, vitae of life. You can see the pattern. The white matter made up of the myelin sheath with the axons, and the gray matter is the surface area that contains the body of the neurons. We have the corpus callosum. I had to cut the corpus callosum to have to separate the left from the right hemisphere. That superior part, the superior part of here is the corpus callosum. Here there is a tiny slit area that leads into the lateral ventricles on each side. Well, in here is a little bit over there. Good. Lateral side. And under it, and inferior to it, we see the thalamus. This is the thalamus. Between the thalamus and the fourth ventricle is the fornix, this part. I don't know whether you see it. That's the fornix. Here is, I cut the third ventricle in half. And what I'm just taking out from the third ventricle is the choroid plexus, the producer of the cerebrospinal fluid. All of the ventricles, the lateral ventricle, the third ventricle, and the third ventricle will lead into the fourth ventricle via the cerebral aqueduct into the fourth ventricle. You see the choroid plexus in each of the ventricles. The structures, these are the structures that produce the cerebrospinal fluid. So as we said, this is the thalamus. Okay, that is the thalamus. And anterior of the thalamus and a little bit inferior is the hypothalamus area. And attached to the hypothalamus is the pituitary gland. Well, probably there's this one doesn't have because it just fell off, or might be this is the tiny one in here, but I would not stress out that much on this. What else? Oh, posterior or caudal to the thalamus, this is the thalamus, is the pineal body, the pineal gland, the producer of the melatonin. Do you see that, guys? I tried to check it if you see it. That is the pineal body. We talked about the lateral ventricle and the third ventricle, and the fourth is here at the bottom, anterior to the cerebellum. The brain stem contains the midbrain, this part, the midbrain, the pons, and the medulla oblongata. The spinal cord is here. It's not part of the brainstem. I made a cross section, not a cross, yeah, kind of a cut. It's a frontal cut. Yep. Here at the anterior part of the brain, and here is the opening to the lateral ventricle. This is the thalamus again in here. And this is the pineal body, that part, okay? And the choroid plexus inside, it's coming out. On the cut, I would like to point out again, I don't know whether, you see it now very well, the gray matter. This is the gray matter and the white matter. The white matter contains the exons that they are myelinated. We distinguish also in here the gyrus. These are the bulging out hilly parts of the brain. And we have the sulcus or the sulci in here as the heels go into a ditch, I would call it. So these are the sulcus and many of them sulci, and these are the gyrus. That is a gyrus. So on here, you see whatever is bulging out a bit. They're not in the sulcus is, oh, this is nice, the pia mater. It's transpassed by the pia mater, but I started to separate for you guys. This is the sulcus in here, if you see that. And this is the gyrus. Okay, I think that's all basically about the brain. And let me know if you have any questions. I clean my hand before I start to just close the video. Please visit the open lab for practicing, and that's all. Have a good one. Bye.